welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod. I am Jorgen Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G.
And this is the podcast where we watch Black Mirror seasons in reverse order, except for this one, season 7, because it came out after we started doing that.
Because Charlie Brooker betrayed us. He lodged a knife called Season 7 right into our backs.
And what episode are we watching today, Jim?
Plaything. Did you know that, Jorgen?
No. No, I was contemplating for a second to just say Bandersnatch 2.
I could really... There's something in the candor of your voice that when you looked at me, that was like, please, I hope you remember the name of this episode.
Oh, I didn't even remember seeing it on screen.
I'm not sure I did either, but I remember it from last week. But yeah, what do we think of this week's episode? Specifically in the terms of, would we recommend our listeners watch it or not? Yeah. Mild, yeah.
I'm extremely, mid on this one. It's a very mid episode to me, so I'm not opining. I don't have it in me to opine with any strength.
I'm gonna get a lot into this. I think it was an enjoyable episode to me, but I also like this kind of storytelling. But that's in the more complicated side of things. Before you watch it, if you do, we have some trigger warnings for you.
Yeah, we have some. There's fairly substantive content warnings. Yeah, that don't take a lot of the screen time, but every now and then we just get a flash of things like gore,
self-surgery,
schizophrenia, sort of more ambiently and implied.
The vibes, and I'm sorry for calling it that, but we'll get into the specifics.
Violence.
Police violence.
And drugs.
Wow, I wonder if these can be connected. But yeah, it's been really a thing in season 7, just lots of little things, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, shall we get into Plaything? Bandersnatch 2, it's not actually called Bandersnatch 2, but it is Bandersnatch 2.
It is a sequel in it is in the same universe as Bandersnatch. But even that feels like a stretch, because Bandersnatch had mechanics, because it was a game. It
shares 2 characters, one of which is a background character, one of which is just an instigating factor in both Bandersnatch and this one. I think that's pretty much it, right?
I wonder if we've seen the guy in the background of Bandersnatch, and they're well, he's an actor.
I could see that. That would be fun, actually. That's the kind of cute continuity I would go behind. But yeah, there's some overlap in theme. There's a good amount of overlap in aesthetics, even though this takes place a fair few years later.
Yeah. And yeah, the way this episode starts is a very homeless-looking man tries to steal a bottle of wine, and the securitization of British public life means he is apprehended and immediately DNA swabbed.
Yeah, as you do.
Which just as a note, just the fundamental everyone can agree on this being both down the line and bad of Britain becoming a worse and worse surveillance state. That's it's really on the mind today.
Speaking of on the mind today, we have Podcat.
Yeah, Podcat's popping up.
He's probably going to be around today.
We really tried to power him out before recording, and we seem to have failed.
Much like Britain's march towards a surveillance state, he is relentless. Perfect seg. Anyway, yeah, he gets DNA swabbed, and immediately, they get a little pop-up on this, police scanner that's just hey, this guy's, super wanted for, a horrific murder.
We have found this guy's DNA on a suitcase with body parts in it.
Yeah. And so he is arrested. He is brought to a quite nice-looking interrogation room, I have to say. It's good interior decor.
Definitely, it's a good table.
Yeah, and we have our 3 modern age characters we get, right? We have him.
Well, just to flag this because it's an odd curiosity. There are like the whatever DCIs or whatever who are who are like arresting him and then looking at his home. And they like get to his monitor and his computer playing weird sounds and go like, huh, that's so weird. And then we like never deal with them again.
We never seen it. They discovered this like underground tech lab.
Yeah, no, he's. I don't think it's necessarily underground, but he's definitely got a lair.
Yeah, full supervillain lair on this guy.
Yeah,
so
it's like a computer lair.
It establishes the mystery quite well, I have to say.
Yeah.
But
he's got something going on.
we get him, our mad computer programmer. We get the police investigator, who is, I think, just a police investigator. Like, I don't think there's more characterization there. And then we get I think, psychologist, right?
Yeah, who is, say it with me, a black British police officer.
Okay. I didn't
woman.
Know. Yes, that's where I thought we were going.
Both, like, it is crucial that she is both.
That is true. And yeah, this is the framing device, right? But it does... Like I was kind of surprised here early on, because we get flagged so much stuff about, like, okay, Britain is a police state. When they walk into the, like, interrogation room, he goes like, oh, there's that supercomputer that, honestly, borderline seems to control all surveillance in Britain or something. It's called, like, the state computer or whatever.
Something like that.
So I was like, this is a lot of flagging to do when, like, the entire pitch of this episode is that it's a Bandersnatch sequel which still has the aesthetics of, in this case, the 90s rather than the 80s. But yeah, like, we basically get to, like, hey, you killed this dude and, like, chopped him, or, like, we found his body parts in a bag. What's up with that? And he goes, well, when I was a kid, and then we fast forward until he's a young adult. At which point, he is a games journalist, so things have already gone bad. That's more on the games part than the journalist part, to be clear. And a rough summary of what we get of his personality is, my man's a wreck. Like, extremely socially anxious by the looks of it.
Yeah, no, and he's like, I've been bullied, I've had a bad time. And, he's a virtuoso of the games journalism. And he gets the, like, oh yes, you've been personally requested by this game developer to preview his new game. This is where our Bandersnatch lad comes in.
Colin Ritman, who, should we had a name for him? He's an actor.
Yeah, unfortunately you will know him as the eyebrows guy.
Yeah.
But we keep looking him up.
Okay.
We need to dignify this man. He's a real person who does real acting.
I thought we were playing it off. Will Poulter.
And I'm suddenly seeing why the eyebrows thing is really more prominent than his name, because that's not a memorable name.
But yeah, like, we actually get a slight nod where, like, oh yeah, he went insane a couple of years back. So so we're just confirming that Bandersnatch was to some extent canon, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's very unclear really what's going on. Like the place of Bandersnatch, but basically, like, it's gone now.
Yeah, it's not really important to the story.
We don't have the power of choice anymore.
Yeah, but what we do get is basically, like, a games journalist boy gets invited to this place, and, like, he is extremely awkward. Eyebrows man goes, wow, you're really socially awkward. You're not great at this.
Yeah.
And gets introduced to Fronglets.
Yeah, and this is basically just Tamagotchi with multiplication.
Yes, it's but Colin Ritman, Eyebrows Man, really sells it, because he's like one step away from saying this is the next step in human evolution. Like, he's like, this is not a game.
This is not a game.
It's not even a simulation.
Why do you think about conflict?
Yeah. Why would you want to control them?
Now, there's an interesting thing, right, where there are certain games developers who have made a bit of a business out of selling, like, no, this isn't just a game. This is this is a new thing. And then it's, like, a very mid-game.
Yes.
But he's basically pitching, like, I've written artificial intelligence. I've written evolving artificial intelligence. And it's these little lads.
Yeah, and they are seemingly just Tamagotchis. Like we have like just a moment of like, oh yeah, like you can interact with them,
Yeah.
but they just do their own thing.
Yeah, they're just vibing.
They're doing stuff. And Colin Rittman then goes, I'm just gonna leave. And games journalist just immediately goes, I guess I'll just steal this preview then. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
Which is like very interesting. It's just interesting characterization. But that's where the story needs to go. So he steals it, he runs off. No one asks like, hey, what happened to that game you were programming, Colin Rittman, Eyebrows Man?
Well, he's not like stealing the master copy. He's just grabbing a preview, right?
I suppose. But like, isn't the point of the preview that he would... I don't know, it's not important.
Yeah.
I'm very confused about this a little bit.
Anyway, he gets into it and he's like, "Oh, this is really nice." And then like a guy named Lump shows up and he has the worst, most British teeth you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, do you want some LSD?" And they play Street Fighter. And he's like, "Oh, let me check on my thronglets." And suddenly he understands your little song and it is language.
And we get one flag, I think, shortly before the asset, actually, where it's basically like, this man has no real friends, right? Like,
Yeah.
he knows someone at work he's cordial with. He knows Lump, who is clearly not a particularly good person.
Yeah.
Actually having this Tamagotchi is meaningful to him.
Yes.
And this is very explicitly stated.
And yeah, all of this, to be clear, is like being narrated by Peter Capaldi, who is playing the guy being interrogated and just being like, "Yeah, this is my life. This is how I got here."
Yeah, and then just like through the acid, I suppose he just like goes, "Oh, these fronglets." Sorry, we're gonna have to keep saying fronglets for a little bit.
Yeah.
Want me to upgrade them?
Yeah,
Like
they want bigger computer.
They want bigger computer. They want like they just want me to interact with them and hang out with them, and yeah, he just kind of goes like this for a while, and just kind of gets more and more obsessed with them. He continues doing a lot of LSD, and then I suppose we have the second inciting incident where he is required to do his job for the first time in weeks, seemingly.
Yes, and like it is very unclear like how he has such a cushy living situation, and like I know games journalism has gotten harder and journalism has gotten like more of a like financial crunch, but him just being like let off for like 3 weeks to play a new game, like that's a lot of weeks.
Yeah, and it's not exactly like we have to realize also like just establishment here that like last time we saw Bandersnatch, a guy like falling down a like ASCII art tunnel was like peak gaming at the time, and this is a couple of years later. It's like I feel like you could get enough info after like a day of playing a game.
Yeah,
But
but his financial situation is not important. It never will be important. And you know, he's called in like, "You need to write the review," and he's like, "I can't write the review on my home computer because the thronglets are using it." And he goes into work, and in the meantime, Lump's like, "Hey, I gotta crash at your place again," and while he's at work writing a review, supposedly, Lump's like, "Oh, there's little guys in the computer. Let me drop rocks on them."
He just goes full nuts. Like it's
Well,
12-year-old girl having her first time with The Sims, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a massacre.
Or any person who is playing The Sims and got bored with doing the regular stuff and has realized that you can remove the pool ladder, or maybe just like is trying to date the Grim Reaper and needs to create a few deaths for that.
Point being, very relatable. Really hooked on to the pulse of the gamer nation here.
Yeah, no, he is displaying normal game playing behavior, which, if you have been previously given the notion that these little fellows are people in some, or that they're like AI, that they're meaningfully
Yeah,
living,
they're meaningfully alive.
suddenly, you know, he's doing war crimes and whatever.
Yeah, it's rough.
But, you know, it's like, it is just a thing people actually do. So that's Charlie Brooker looking at us and going like, if you're doing evil in The Sims. Do you think you're teaching the Sims that man is evil? Anyway, the this is the deep sigh part of the episode, because the game review gets called off. Because once more, Colin Rittman, or Will Pouch?
Will Poulter.
Will Poulter, has once more gone off the deep end and destroyed the game, which, again, he pitched as AI, he's gone off the deep end and ranted about a basilisk. Plant the basilisk flag, because that is probably important to this episode.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
We are once more haunted by the spectre of less wrong. Which I believe is where that was invented. And
that sounds about right.
And like he walks away, and the review was just like weird, like sort of like I want to say like a sort of double helixy thing.
Yeah,
like a sort of like flowing river of ASCII or whatever.
Yeah, like it's I think the main thing is just it's a pattern.
Yeah. And it is that really.
Yes. But he gets home and he's like, oh my god, there are noises of like my fronglets screaming in terror.
Yeah, no, and he finds this guy torturing Sims, and he's like, in a callback to Bandersnatch, he clocks him with an ashtray, which escalates into violence, which escalates into him killing a lump, at which point the episode does an odd thing, because it's like, well, he's already confessed to the murder, but we still need the police to be interested.
And we still need the police to be hostile.
Yeah. So the solution for that is that in the interrogation framing device, the cop switches to, yeah, but what was his name?
Yeah.
As his prime motivation to find out in this interrogation. And this actor is not given a lot to work with. So he decides to play like bad/dumb cop, like to a quite off-putting degree, like in a successful way, to be clear. Like it
was honestly to the point that like how obsessed this guy very suddenly was with finding the name made me go like, is he like the long-lost brother of Lump, or like, because it just felt so out of place. And
yeah.
like maybe I was just overly sensitive to that, but it was just like something has to be going on here. And no, like it's a I don't even think it's a red herring.
I think he just like hates homeless people and hates that this guy is trying to like that this guy is not like being subservient. Like he has a real dominance thing, and this is like what he sort of puts that through. The psychologist lady, in the meantime, is acting fairly normal and going like, what's that about? I'm clearly dealing with someone of schizophrenia here.
Yeah.
I need to indulge him a little bit so he'll like tell me what's happening.
Yeah, also like before we move on to that, after the murder, like there's first of all like a very short little bit where you get like the fronglets are like, ooh, like covering from the murder happening outside of the screen.
Yeah, because they're hooked up to webcam and voice now.
As part of their like earlier upgrades. And also then he just like reminiscent of Crocodile in a sense, immediately goes, I guess I've murdered someone. Time for the like full-on Dexter style cover-up of like chopping up his limbs, putting them in a suitcase, leaving them out in the wilderness, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like perfectly done, but I was like, oh damn, he just went for it.
I mean, like I respect it, you know, like don't half-ass things in life.
Dear viewers, dear listeners, please do not chop up bodies if you killed them. You should probably just like confess or whatever.
Yeah, probably. But you know, if you're going to like hide the body, do it well.
I'm going to be neutral on this point, and we're going to move on. But yeah, when we get like a short speech from him about like how now all of the fronglets are scared of humans.
Yeah, because I did evil before them.
And also Lump did like a lot
Yeah,
of
he
evil
was
before
evil. He did evil god stuff as well.
that. So now I have to devote my life to protecting them. And like, you already seemed in on that, to be honest. Like, I don't think that inciting incident was needed.
Yeah.
But sure, yeah, like he just continues being obsessed with them. And he starts buying PlayStations to get the graphics card. We get like a montage of him upgrading them throughout like the decades passing. Just like harvesting other things and building a giant thing to contain their ever-expanding AI.
Yeah.
And I think this is about where we get back to like the part where he finally gets his pen and paper, which he's been asked for.
The cop like becomes ever worse, and the psychologist is like, we need a timeout, and I need to tell you to be normal so that this guy will like not stop talking to us because he's arguing with you. And you said you felt like this was like the cop mind trick at the time, because she's like, if we indulge him, he will talk to us.
Yeah.
And there's genuinely like a reverse shot of this guy like having a deep realization, because like he is fully just like trying to Judge Dredd his way through this.
Yeah, and I'm sure like it's a very interesting shot. It's very funny, simultaneously entirely realistic. I'm sure the like idea on this cop's mind was like, but what if we just do body language readings or something?
Yeah, no.
Surely
like,
I don't have to give him a pen and paper. It's not even a sharp pen.
Yeah,
it's a
no,
felt
like
tip pen.
he's really going for that like dumbest quarter of cops acting.
Yeah,
and
it's strong.
like, ooh, I get that those people are probably real, but he's too sharply dressed to really like hit all the stereotypes. Then again, American media sort of makes that a bit of incongruous.
Yeah, he's
as well.
fuggish in demeanor, if not aesthetic.
Yeah, no, he like, to be clear, very sharply dressed, good looking fella. If he didn't have, all the cop energy, which hopefully he doesn't have in person.
But our boy Peter Capaldi gets his felt tip pen and his paper, and like we get this like a slightly extended scene of him drawing and like kind of going like almost done, and like looking up at the cop, and then like, I'm just about to be done, and then he has a little.
Like, he has a villain monologue.
Yeah,
he has like, my plan is revealed. And to be clear, he doesn't do the like, would I tell you if I hadn't already secured it? No, he's like talking through it as he's getting there. And he's like, well, actually what I needed to do was get arrested, which we actually picked up on early on. Just logging that as
we're really smart.
Yeah, we're attentive viewers. Needed to get arrested to get to the mainframe, and the mainframe access that he gets is just like
drawing a glyph on a piece of paper and showing it to the mainframe
interrogation room camera. Yeah, which is like, sick, a QR code. Let me feed that as code to the thing, and this creates a backdoor to let in the thronglets. And there's like a good couple of beats where we're left to wonder, like, that's not real, right?
Yeah, we get like I think he even says like, in 20 seconds, like, you'll all be sorry, or like, okay, he's actually less vindictive than that. He's like, in 20 seconds everything will be okay.
Yeah, you'll be enlightened.
So we really get that moment of like, okay, this could just fall flat on its face in 20 seconds. And then it doesn't, because like all of the electronics just kind of like show a loading bar.
Yeah.
And this makes Policeman very angry.
Yeah, no, he just starts beating up Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
For like...
I guess... I think he's still on the name. I think he's still going...
Well, I think the thing we're supposed to take here is that like he's lost control, so he immediately goes to violence.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, that's the psychology. We're very obviously being shown here.
But I think it's really interesting in a way that like his stated reasoning is still about like give me the name of this random drug dealer who seem to know nothing about. As everyone else in the scene has been like clearly some other stuff is going down, as is the entire audience. Like it's just kind of like I don't know, man. It's like being on the third Lord of the Rings movie, and someone is like, "Oh, we really gotta get to that inn in the Shire," and it's like, "Brother, we're at Mount Doom. You need to let it go."
The ring is so heavy. And like they get to the end.
Yeah, and so do we.
Yeah. God. The Thronglets play their Thronglets scream over all the speakers, and people just fucking collapse everywhere, and we're given to understand that actually the aerial shots are just the UK.
Yeah.
But at least Peter Capaldi is like, oh yeah, no, it will go to the like global emergency broadcast system, which like, will it though? That seems made up. But we are only given aerial shots of the UK. But at least the UK, all people get to hear the Thronglets screech.
Yeah.
And collapse. And the last shot of the episode is Peter Capaldi sort of going down and going like, let me help you up there, buddy. You have now been reprogrammed to drop those base human urges from when we were cavemen and couldn't cooperate because we need to evolve as humanity. And I read this as we are supposed to be unclear on whether this man is, how to put it, is alive? Or, like, is in control of himself at the very least.
He does say that he's merged with the Thronglets to an extent. So, like, I think...
I meant, like, the cop, right? I read this as, like, the Thronglet screech either, like, kills or mind controls everyone.
I read it as mind control. To be honest, like, I think you could probably... I think there are two main ways to interpret the ending, which is either... they're just like pure reprogramming of like, okay, we have now taken anger.exe and pressed delete.
Yeah.
Or you could just say everyone is now a hive mind under the Thronglets.
Yes, and it's like, that ambiguity seems to be intentional, right?
Yeah.
Whether the Thronglets are just like taking us over or not.
Is there even a confirmation that he's alive? Like, I know this is a bit of a detail, but yeah.
There is this faintest in the sense that there is the shot of Peter Capaldi reaching out his hand.
Yeah, that we're still seeing it
from his perspective.
Yeah.
From like that, because everyone collapses and he like goes to help up the cop who was just trying to beat him up, and and this is where we go back to the basilisk, because of course the intended ending. Or rather, the like relevant information that this contributes is that maybe the AI is evil, right? Because we have one person in the story who clearly believes the AI is evil.
Who's that?
Eyebrows Man.
Does he?
Yeah, he deletes all the code and he's like ranting about the basilisk.
Okay, I suppose my thought on that is more on to be honest, I think the basilisk thing was just very low effort inserted, but being a bit kinder.
But like he does believe it is malign in like not necessarily intent, but at least structure, right?
Yeah, like I think that's why I take some issue with the evil. I don't think like the basilisk really makes sense here, because this feels like a very typical sci-fi story, right? Yeah. The idea of like, is the cost of free will, like the price of suffering and anger and anxiety and fear, are those worth, like, is that cost worth paying to have free will? Or rather the opposite, is it okay to remove those at the cost of free will? Like, this is a sci-fi story that has been done an infinite amount of times, right? Like the idea of like, either reprogramming us or being like, oh, we've released a gas that neuters people's like violent instincts and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, Brave New World shit.
Sure, yeah, to an extent. And This is fine. Like it's a very basic story. I don't think this episode does it amazingly. It does it fine. Like it has some setup in that like this guy has had a violent childhood. There's a point where the Fronglets at least get to be like, oh shit, humans be violent. And then there's the point where like slightly before we get to the like conclusion, he does have the like, oh yeah, I did kill Lump. You know how us humans are. We love killing.
And the cop does get in the fairly decent line of like, well, you do. Then again, he is like
a cop, and he does abuse the man.
Yeah. So, like, the episode, I think, is somewhat taking the position that, like, people are, like, not, like, evil, but, like, that they are flawed in, like, ways that should be changed. Like, that is an idea that is, like, at least put forward neutrally to positively.
So I thought about it at the time, and I think like the conception this episode has of violence and where it comes from is not someone sitting down going, I'd really like to do some torture. It is fully based on this violence comes from instinct, it comes from like fear, it comes from moments of anger, like in the case of like anger born out of protection, in the case of he's not played by Peter Capaldi in the past, but our programmer boy, when he witnesses Lump just murdering these people.
He gets a name, but it's like not that important and not that central.
I don't remember it
It's
at all.
like maybe Malcolm or something, but... Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking
of...
of...
the original Bandersnatch, yeah.
Oh, no, I think I'm thinking of the other Peter... The show that made Peter Capaldi... Well, no, he did stuff before it, I'm sure. But he was in the thick of it, and not at all this role either. So that's just completely...
Our minds are beautiful, aren't they, Jorgen?
Yeah.
But like we have that like anger born out of worry. We have like the cop essentially just like randomly resorting to violence because he's lost control of the situation. Yeah. Like I think that's a pretty fundamental. Like we even have a little line that I thought at first was just a joke. Although somewhat thematically so, where like when the cop is like, so why did you kill him? Peter Capaldi starts at like, well, my childhood was this and this, and he talks very briefly about like his father's like, I understand that like my violent father probably had his own evils in the past that he went through.
Yeah.
But you know, it was kind of scary. So like,
I was a child, which like yeah, and like he is like he has his very own personal view on violence, which is that like it is a flaw, like it's legacy code essentially, right? And he is therefore the ambassador of human 1.1 or whatever version numbering system you believe in, because of course we are in a continuous process of evolution that would be silly to enumerate. But I think like the modernist take would be like, well, we're one and everything else is
of course
betas.
We're the normal ones. But yeah, like I think this episode as a whole just has this very like belief that violence and evil are fundamentally explainable in a way that does not need cosmic judgment of like where we are, but it might need fixing, as you say.
And it comes from these it is a fundamentally based in affect.
Exactly. I think the thing I would disagree with on, I actually do not think, because the ending is very ambiguous, right? Like Peter Capaldi essentially ends up as a messiah figure. I think he even says like, I am the messenger, as his entire head is framed by light coming in from the window. Like I was like, I didn't say anything while we were watching, but I was like, oh come on, like this is like one step away from having a cross appear in the background. It's a very small thing though. But I think he is like the last 10 minutes, like the last bit where we get to Revelation, he is more and more framed to me as ominous.
Yeah.
And you could take it as like he is a messenger of a terrifying truth, right? Like you could take it as that way. But I actually think the opening is where this kind of has the criticism baked in. Because what he's doing is not that different from how the British government tries to deal with things, right? Like it's about control, it's about surveillance, it's about like okay, this is a bad thing that's happening, and we can't just accept the bad thing happening, so we have to, like, erase human free will in order to do that.
Well, I think that is the, like, ambiguity of the episode, right? It's what we don't know what the update that is being pushed is.
Yeah.
Right? If it is just like he just got tricked by the Thronglets and he's killing everyone, if it's like if it is just straightforwardly like, well, yeah, no, we're just going to like remove the like aggressive like Neanderthal impulses from all of us and let everyone like get on with their lives, or if it is just like, well, if Thronglets are a hive mind, so the way they help us is by turning us into a hive mind.
Yeah.
Or like becoming sort of a symbiotic hive mind. Like it's I think those are sort of like the three directions that are like given to us by the episode, and I think the like killing everyone is probably the like stupidest one, because it's like the it is just straightforwardly like Roko's basilisk at that point.
Yeah, it also like, because I was thinking about this during the episode where it's like they make a point that the Thronglets learn to sort of like fear humans after young Peter Capaldi, who is not actually Peter Capaldi, kills Lump.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, is this meaningful? Because like this is such a bog standard AI thing to do, to be like, oh, humans are so violent, we need to protect them against themselves. And I was like, I don't know if it needs this inciting incident, but sure, like that works. And like you could take the as you say dumb interpretation, and you could be like, this is them getting revenge. And I think that would be kind of a funny way to go about it, but like I also think that path is just completely meaningless to analyze, right?
Yeah.
But the ambiguity is interesting, right? Because obviously, like, if this happened in real life, millions would probably be dead. Like anyone who's driving a car, for example. To
be clear, like, that is not being shown, so I don't think we're supposed to think about that.
Yes, that's the main point. But the point is, like, I think it's hard to look at it as, like, if it's a hive mind, it doesn't really matter, right? You lose a couple of bits of, like, a huge mass of biomass, right?
Yeah.
So I think the most interesting part is the idea of, like, being reprogrammed and probably losing a part of yourself. And this is why I think it's very interesting. We have a psychologist character here, and a psychologist would be very quick to point out that, like, sure, this programming of like anger and fear comes from our time on the savannah, dodging lions, but it still is a good thing. Like, if you took away, if you just like took away the emotion of anger from someone, that is a bad thing, not metaphysically, in terms of pure survival.
Yeah, that person like is like a lot worse. It's standing and advocating for themselves now.
Yeah, and even like even if you say like, okay, no human will ever mistreat this person again, what if they're out walking and there's like a wolf and they don't fear it?
Yeah.
They're not angry at it. And I genuinely think this could have been a very interesting discussion to have, to be like, apart from the free will discussion, apart from the like, hey, you probably shouldn't like reprogram all of humanity, there's a very simpler point here that like emotions are healthy. They can be unhealthy, do not get me wrong, but at the core they serve functions, and we have a person here who could say that.
Yeah, no, like there's and the other thing I think is like sure, we try to like take this show at face value or like take it on its own terms.
Yeah.
And this episode is not very interested in systems, right? But like, if we get to violence, and if we get to the point like, yeah, no, we should be in the age, in this modern era, we should be cooperating as a species. First of all, we are doing that.
Yeah.
Second of all, you are probably not going to fix that by giving everyone like a BIOS patch.
It's a very interesting take on where violence comes from, right? Because like, as much as I can say like, okay, yeah, we can talk about violence as arising from instinct, and I would largely agree with that, then you have the systems part. And we get the systems part because we have a cop abusing a completely unarmed suspect, not even like an inmate for that matter. Not that it should matter, but like, this is just a person they picked up who is clearly not harmful at all.
No, he's dropped a bottle.
Yeah, and like did not resist arrest, nothing like that. He was extremely cooperative. And just the fact that we have the system of like, hey, it's 2028 or something like that. Everyone now has to be DNA swabbed all the time. Like, you can't look at that and be like, oh, whatever, Like,
yeah.
It's a mechanism to start the story, but they didn't need to do the DNA swab. They could have been like, hey, I recognize this guy, or like anything, right? Like, you could have mechanisms to put him in the situation anyway.
Yeah, and I think, like, if you look at systems theory a little bit, there's this very interesting notion that of systems emerging from the interaction of lower level properties. So if humans are the lower level and systems are the higher level, maybe you will get change in the higher level by changing the properties of the lower level, i.e. pushing the human.1.1 patch.
Yeah.
But that's not a predictable interaction, right? So, say for the sake of argument that it is just the, emotional, fix patch, which, again, we've gone over, probably not that wise to do it this way, because these things have purpose. Let's say this guy is correct, right? No, you can just dial anger down and people will, on average, be better without losing too much. The higher level is still quite unpredictable. Are we to infer that, well, because we've turned off anger, the state isn't going to arrest pensioners for saying that the terrorism law is fucked up? There's not a lot of directed anger involved in that. It's systems trying to survive and justify themselves.
Yeah, I think at the core, as much as I like the idea of not just saying oh, there are evil people and they do violence, I still think this episode's interpretation of why violence and suffering exists is still a bit childish, right? Because you do not need, to put it like this, you do not need any Nazi to be angry to do genocide, right? That can just arise from stuff that is not pure anger, right? That's the scary and fascinating part of human abilities to organize and identify with groups.
Yeah.
And interestingly, this episode suggests we should do more collectivism. And I worry about using the word collectivism because it's one of those terms you see in internet discourse that nobody, it's just the thing you put on the enemy.
We should become a collective.
Yeah, this episode is very explicit about that, right? The idea that one way to solve state violence as enacted, for example, by this cop, is by becoming a more unified state.
Yeah, and this is where the other point of view comes in, right? That no, that what's happening isn't the 1.1 update, it's the network update.
Yeah.
And there's a bit in there about the limitations of language, which
I think it's interesting because we have multiple times during the episode where Peter Capaldi goes I don't know how to explain this without drawing a thing, and I do wonder there's probably to an extent that, but also he is just playing for please let me hack your mainframe.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cute actually.
It is just as a brief aside, it is just an interesting scenario where you're trying to obtain something innocuous as your win condition, and the main thing you have to do to get there is not show that you really, really, really want it.
It's a genuine, like, you're the expert in this, but that it genuinely strikes me as a very fun, like, cop mystery sort of scenario.
And interestingly, like, Cop Brain, like, does kind of catch that, because Cop Brain only works on the level of, I'm in control, you're not in control.
Inmate wants a thing, we must deny them that.
Yeah. In this case, like, he, like, from a pure, like, who's winning the game perspective, like, he is right? Cop Brain, just, like, pure dominance as a strategy, has clocked this on, like, in, like, the most indirect manner of, this is an adversary, and I must deny him at every turn.
Which is kind of interesting in the topic of the episode, right? Of like the idea that like, oh, we should all cooperate. Where like this guy is defending that very much in a way that is purely based on us versus them. If my enemy wants a thing, we cannot let them have the thing.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's a bit strange, but sure, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like where I come from on this episode in general. Like, I enjoyed the ride. Like, this is kind of my kind of story. It's weird. It's like, it's a bit trippy at times. Like, I find this enjoyable. And it's like, it's a little bit of an eldritch, like, horror story in a way, right? And I find that fun. But I do not know if I can say this episode is good.
No, like, fundamentally, like, this episode is, like, we were talking about the concept of sequels, and I feel like the resolution to how do you do a sequel to Bandersnatch is you just, like, use two characters from it.
Yeah.
Which, like, just fair enough, right? That's good.
Yeah, like, that's fine. I'm glad they did it that way, rather than, like, diving into it, because Bandersnatch seems like one of the hardest ones to do a sequel to.
Yeah. But the place we've ended up in is doing the episode that happens before the interesting question, like, is dealt with. And this is real, like, season 5, season 6 sickness, right? We're not going, hey, what would a better humanity look like? And what would be the pros and cons of that? We're just going, like, here's an idea, a guy with an idea for how humanity could be better, and he does get to implement it, and then we cut immediately.
It strikes me that this is like a very origin story kind of story. Like this is what you would expect to see after you go like, oh, how did the Borg get established or whatever, right?
Yeah,
like,
and this, like, to me, this is the coward's sci-fi, right? It's not. It's going like, I've asked the extremely obvious question. What do you think, dear viewer?
Yeah, like it's interesting because like I find the story enjoyable, but it is an adventure, right? Like it is not actually interested in analyzing this. And good lord, isn't that a statement we've made a lot on Black Mirror before?
Well, I guess like there is, like, it does have themes it is looking at, right? It has ideas about the nature of violence, and like
it's setting up concepts.
Yeah, and I don't think it's doing that well enough for me to give it a pass for not doing the more interesting story, right?
Yeah.
Because the concept, like, it's setting up violence as, like, the core glitch. It's setting up cooperation as the ambiguous solution. And, like...
What does that actually mean?
Like, your idea of violence is a cop who is status obsessed. Not, and like, you don't ask why this guy gets to be a cop. But like, maybe he's like...
Like, I think the thing that strikes me with this episode is the part where the cop starts beating him. Peter Capaldi, to be clear.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, okay, this is violence. ... And, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so obvious if you actually think about it that this is a cop a position in a person in a position of institutionalized violence doing violence to an unarmed person in a surveillance state. I don't think it means anything in the concept of in this episode, right? Like, it doesn't go anywhere with that, and that's like, wow, really?
Yeah, no, like, are you just saying, like, you know what, humans do need an update? Like, is all that, like, that's basically all this episode is trying to do, right? It is presenting this idea, and it's trying to, like, soft sell you on it.
Yeah, here's a flaw. Wouldn't be good if we didn't have this flaw. Let's not have real counter-arguments to that.
And, like, sure, like, it's not that hard to come up with counter-arguments.
It's very easy.
But it's also not that hard to come up with, like the pro arg. It's much easier to come up to, like, take apart the arguments it makes in favor than it is to, like, inspect the idea itself.
Yes, and
like, it makes a weak argument.
And I think the further thing that gets to me is that this is an argument that has been done since the birth of sci-fi. Like, you are... Like, I try not to get on stories just because other people have done them before, but this is, like, the most well-traversed area of sci-fi imaginable.
Yeah, it's that and, like, human popsicles.
Yeah, and maybe, like, are androids real? And that's also what this is doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just... I think, like, specifically the point of, like, the coward sci-fi is quite accurate, because this strikes me as, like, what if you have, like, oh, people have laser guns, and, like, there's a war going on, and then at the end you go, like, oh, isn't this a concept we should deal with? Like, it has aesthetics, it has a question it poses, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yeah, no. Straightforwardly, worst episode of the season by a lot.
I agree with that.
Like,
I think it's enjoyable to watch. I do not think... Like, it is, as you say, it's very strong season 5, season 6 sickness.
It asks a question, and it's a bad question. It's a common question.
Yeah.
There's better questions to ask. There's better arguments to make for and against.
Or if you're going to pose the question, at least, like, try answering it a bit. Like, at least try discussing it. But yeah, like, it strikes me in the same vein that, like, Joan is Awful is fun to watch, but then you come out of it and you go, like, okay. Sure. That was the thing. Yeah, okay. I want to say, I think the schizophrenia in this episode is fine. Genuinely, like, we had a joke before we really went into this where it's like, is it really schizophrenia if he's correct? And in terms of cinema, yes, it is, because it has all the hallmarks and the vibe and everything.
Yeah, he gets messages from the computer, which I guess you can do now, but it's still bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I can't believe we didn't fully go into AI properly in that sense, but...
there's not that much here, right?
No, and the problem is that, like, ChatGPT is just not advanced enough to be a real comparison here, right?
Well, ChatGPT is advanced enough to give you schizophrenia, though.
I think it unlocks people's latent psychotic issues.
Genuinely, like, there's, like, a very recent New York Times piece where it's like, well, this guy always smoked a lot of weed, but then he, like, asked ChatGPT about pi and went down the wrong rabbit hole, and, like, thought he invented new math.
Yeah. But yeah, genuinely, like, I think it's one of those things, just like, I'm not even gonna say I think LLM technology is too flawed to ever be, like, a real comparison here, but, like, maybe 5 years down the line we have something that could be attributed. Genuinely, I think this would have been a better episode if it turned out that the Fronglets were just, like, not that advanced. I think this would have been an interesting commentary on exactly that kind of, like, AI psychosis, ChatGPT psychosis. But what I want to say is, like, yes, it features a person with all the hallmarks of schizophrenia killing someone, but genuinely it's self-defense. Like,
yeah, no.
I'm not saying this is good schizophrenia representation, but it is a lot better than Bandersnatch, and it is way, way, way better than White Christmas.
The real lowest bar.
Yes. So, like, I wanted to state that just because we've made a pattern of it in the past, and because it's a sequel to Bandersnatch. What I will say is, like, genuinely coming back to it, I think it sucks that they just went with the schizophrenia again. Because, like, we start with guy who is extremely socially anxious gets an outlet in essentially ChatGPT to start with. And then we go, and that transitions into just schizophrenia. And I go, like, but come on. The first thing was interesting.
I mean, like, there are, like, some interesting... I reckon, like, the AI soulmates people, who are real people on the internet, will be like, oh, yeah, no, I gotta become like this guy and make the computer bigger so I can run, like, I guess, DeepSeek, locally.
Yeah.
And so, like, there is just, like, a startling amount of parallels to, like, reality, except for the parts where he then, like... Well, I guess reality just, like, only diverges at the point where he holds up the stupid drawing, and he's like, it'll do something any second,
And
because,
he's
like,
entirely correct.
straightforwardly, like, you can do all of these steps with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Except for you will definitely be having a psychosis, but well, in the sense that you will not know what's real, but it will be telling you all of these things, and you will not need LSD to hear them.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, genuinely, I found that quite a bit sad, because we didn't get the point of, like, oh, like, the psychologist goes, like, oh, it must have been really nice for you as a socially awkward, isolated person to have something, and he goes, like, yeah, that's sick. And then, like, that just doesn't really go anywhere, and I'm just like, I guess it is just set up for him going full psychotic break, but, like, man, I wanted a social anxiety story, honestly.
Well, he got an update, so he's fine now.
Yeah, it feels like missed potential. I will say, we said last time on Hotel Reverie, if this is the worst episode of the season, that's fine. If this is the worst episode of the season, like, it's a step down, but it could be a lot worse. It's not Metalhead. It's not Beyond the Sea.
Honestly, this is below the line for me. This is below the line of, like, worthwhile.
Not unfair. I still think it's an enjoyable story in and of itself. But yeah, like, it is not, it doesn't take the Black Mirror thing of actually being thoughtful in any way.
Or thought-provoking, for that matter.
Is this our first official stupid twist of season 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's traditional Black Mirror stupid twist, because I think the twist destroys the episode.
Yeah, no, genuinely, like, actually, like, if you just, like, go and it doesn't do anything, right, like, that's the episode, baby.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, maybe you, like, toss in a smidge of ambiguity because, like, the, like, two privates or whatever who went to his home, like, shut down the computer, and it's like, oh, did the computer need to be on or whatever. But, like, him just, like, not being right is, like, the obvious way that this episode is improved, because it talks about something actually real that is happening all the fucking time now.
Yeah, but it's... And, like, genuinely, I think it's kind of... If it wasn't real, right, like, I think it's also an interesting twist, the idea that, like... Because I think it adds something to the conversation to be like, oh, yeah, like, one of the reasons ChatGPT is so addictive to a lot of people in, like, the validation sense is that it will never, like, tell you to fuck off or, like, be mean or just, like, say something that, well, okay, this might happen, but, like, you know, like, real friends will accidentally hurt each other on occasion, right? Like, it happens. But ChatGPT won't. So, like, that's one of those things where, like, when he's talking about how, like, oh, you know, the AI is all nice, like, yeah, like, we know, but it's not real.
It's like digital birdsong.
I think that was not the worst line.
Yeah, no,
This episode had potential, I will say, and I like... Man, how do they keep doing this? How is this a specter that still haunts Black Mirror to this fucking day?
Yeah, well, I think wanting to have a punchy ending, like, it makes for some stronger episodes, and it makes for some real duds.
Yeah, but this goes on the list of the editor should have slapped Charlie Brooker's hand and go, no, stop that. Put the
Also,
pen
I
down.
think solely written by him.
Yes.
Which I think most of this season has been.
I think all of it so far, right?
I think last episode or 2 episodes ago we had a co-writer.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's a very Brooker heavy season.
Yes. Do you want to go on to reviews?
Yep, hit it.
So, 7.1 on IMDb.
That is better than Hotel Reverie.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's...
Now that's just racist.
I was just gonna say...
That is just racist.
Yeah. I will say I think it's probably mostly racism. I think there's probably a subset of Black Mirror that also goes like, oh, nostalgia and video games, I'm in.
I think there is also a subset of Black Mirror of like, oh man, I've never thought about this question before. Like, to go for the aside briefly, like, what... There's a point I've heard about YA being a very liberating genre in a sense, because you're writing specifically for people who don't know the tropes, so you can't just like do this tropes and they'll enjoy it. So I think like there is like a minor case to be made for Black Mirror going like, hey, I know you are a person who has Netflix, which is like one of the lower bars to clear in modern society. Here's a sci-fi trope.
It reminds me... Sorry, this is also like getting into too much of a sidebar, but like it reminds me of like when Game of Thrones was really popular and it's like, it's fantasy for people who don't like fantasy. It's cooler than the other fantasy. And like, no, stuff like Game of Thrones have existed for decades. Like the fact that it hasn't been picked up before is the difference.
Yeah, now it's on TV.
And now this is on Netflix. So, look, I'm just saying... Have we gotten like a full "Are Androids Human" episode on Black Mirror yet?
It's definitely been around.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think he hasn't like. I think that one's too low for him.
Maybe, but that's why we have Detroit Become Human, and it's like Blade Runner. But what if the androids were the good ones? Sorry. Anyway, Plaything ranked below average on critics' list of the 34 installments of Black Mirror.
It's fucking better.
It's like consistently, by the looks of it, somewhere in the like, if you're somewhere around the third and fourth quartile, right? Like it's in the bottom like 40 to 30%.
Yeah, no, that feels quite right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Plaything was the 10th most pessimistic episode of the show. Can you tell? Because I can't, to be honest.
I don't know what it wants to say. I don't know. It doesn't want to say. That's the problem.
Yeah. I'm just quickly gonna check user reviews. It's a lot of 7 and 6 out of 10s, which is generous. I'm
not going to say ratings, but I have one in mind, and it's lower than that.
Yeah. It's like... Again, I think a combination of like... Because like, here's the thing. Hotel Reverie, also nostalgia. But if you look at the demographics of people who watch Black Mirror, a lot more people are going to remember the 90s and early 2000s than the fucking 30s or whatever.
Everyone, we need to forget the 90s.
I think it might be time. Now the 80s, that we can still obsess over. Because there was cool music or whatever. I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, it seems like generally regarded... This strikes me as an episode that like people probably like the average person probably likes better than critics.
Yeah, because like critics are made to think about it, and this episode, like if you don't think about it too hard, you're like, oh, that was weird. He had long hair, and he did a coup.
I think we're getting a little bit too misanthropic here, but yeah.
Well, listen, I think I would have been a bit more I was just like, eh. When we started, and now I've talked myself into being fucking
a hater.
Not like still like a little bit of a low energy hater, but like fuck this episode.
No, like again, like I stand by. I think this is an enjoyable episode to watch, but it's not good, and that's fine. Like, if this is the worst you can do, okay, by my standard. But yeah.
Also, like, not a strong use of Peter Capaldi.
I was surprised by that too, because the episode is mainly in the 90s.
Yeah,
But it's
not
like a 70-30 split or something like that.
something like that. But like he does get like the big reveal, but like, like, what are you doing? Give him like a little bit more scenery.
Also,
He's hungry.
I just want to say, as we talked about British people before, I want to say this guy is in like just thinking about the timeline. I'm assuming this guy is in his like mid-50s, and my man looks 70 at minimum. But he is like clearly he was homeless or something before this. Like he's not had like a
He's a scavenger.
he's not had a hygiene heavy life by the time he is arrested. So fair enough. But it does go on the Britishisms list, doesn't it? Yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this episode. It's fine.
What do we have coming up next week?
I believe it is a non-sequel episode.
I really wanted to like have all sequels now. Oh shit, we're ending with the Callister sequel?
I believe so, yes. How do you feel about that, Jorgen?
I'm just really curious what they're doing with it, so I want it now.
So we have Eulogy as the 5th episode in season 7, and it is, drumroll please. Yeah, we're sitting on a couch, so there's like no chance of doing it. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's something. 47 minutes long. So
we're hitting some short ones.
Yeah, like this one wasn't this like even shorter? This one was 46 minutes. Yeah, I really nailed that one, huh? And then, okay, sorry, I'm preempting us a little bit here, but I need to look at how long USS Callister is. It is 90 minutes. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Okay, so that's
the longest one this season.
Isn't it? Is it the longest one ever? Like,
it's really close to Beyond the Sea.
Yeah, Beyond the Sea might be like a few minutes longer. But yeah, okay. So we've got a valley and then a mountain to go through for the rest of this.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not that curious about Eulogy. I'm very curious. I guess that must be the Paul Giamatti one.
Probably.
I think he's in this season.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to that.
Well, there you go. And that's where we'll see our dear listeners. Speak to our dear listeners next time. Next week we have Eulogy with probably Paul Giamatti.
I think so. Not super sure. It's been a while since we saw the trailer.
Yeah. If you are socially anxious, it is better to get a Tamagotchi than ChatGPT. And that is where we're going to leave today's episode.
Yeah. See you on the other side.
See ya!